Ronan leaned back on his couch, glancing at the delivery confirmation on his phone. The ad had been too good to pass up. An advanced AI assistant, capable of handling everything from scheduling to cooking. He imagined a sleek, humanoid robot with a polished metal frame and glowing blue eyes, programmed to make his life easier. With a sigh, he rubbed his temples. Life had been a cycle of work and exhaustion. Coming home to an empty apartment every day was getting old. Maybe a robotic assistant wouldn't fix everything, but at least it would help. The doorbell rang. Finally, pushing off the couch, he made his way to the door, expecting a large package or maybe a delivery team. Instead, when he swung the door open, his breath hitched. Standing before him was not a robot. She was tall, elegant, and unmistakably alien. Her skin had a soft lavender hue, glowing faintly under the porch light. Violet hair cascaded in silky waves down her back, and her eyes, large, golden, and almost too beautiful to be real, studied him with open curiosity. She wore a form-fitting white bodysuit with silver accents, looking more like an interstellar diplomat than anything resembling a household assistant. "Ronan," she said smoothly, her voice a perfect blend of warmth and confidence. "I have arrived." Ronan blinked. "What?" She tilted her head, her expression unreadable but calm. "I am Valari, your assigned companion." His fingers tightened around the doorframe. "No, I ordered a robot assistant. You're definitely not that." "There has been a change in service," she said, stepping forward without waiting for an invitation. "The company recognized a greater need for organic interaction and has expanded its offerings. Instead of artificial intelligence, you have been assigned a living, breathing partner." Ronan nearly laughed. This had to be some kind of elaborate joke. "You're telling me I ordered a cleaning bot, and instead, I got an alien woman?" Valari nodded, her golden eyes watching him intently. "Correct." He ran a hand down his face. That doesn't make any sense. Who even are you?" "I am Valari of House Chan, bonded to you by contract," she said, as if this was completely normal. "I have undergone extensive compatibility screening and training to serve as your perfect match. This arrangement is beneficial for both parties." He let out a short laugh. "Beneficial? How?" She stepped closer and he caught a faint, sweet scent, something floral yet unfamiliar. "You are alone. I will ensure you are not." His heart did a weird little stutter. "That's not, I mean, I didn't sign up for a mate. I signed up for a helper." Valari's lips curled slightly, almost amused. "In my culture, companionship is not just about service. It is about connection. And I have been assigned to you because you are compatible with me in every way." "Compatible?" His voice cracked slightly. "Yes." She reached up and lightly touched his chest, right over his heart. "And now that I am here, I will not leave." A strange warmth spread through him at her touch, a mix of surprise and something else, something dangerously close to wanting. He swallowed. "I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake," she murmured, her golden gaze locking onto his. "I accept you, Ronan. Now, do you accept me?" His breath caught. He had expected a robot assistant. Instead, he had an alien woman standing in his living room, claiming him as hers. And the craziest part? He wasn't sure he wanted her to leave. Ronan wasn't sure how he ended up in this situation. One minute, he was expecting a robot to help manage his life, and the next, he had an alien woman rearranging his apartment like she belonged there. Valari moved with effortless grace, her golden eyes scanning everything as if she were cataloging his entire existence. She adjusted the lighting, straightened furniture, and even ran her fingers along the kitchen counter before nodding in approval. "Your dwelling is functional but lacks balance," she announced. "I will improve it." Ronan crossed his arms. "Improve it how?" She didn't answer, she simply acted. Within minutes, she had rearranged his living room, optimizing the furniture placement. Somehow, it looked better. More open. He rubbed his temples. Okay, listen. I don't know how things work where you're from, but humans don't just let random people, or aliens, walk in and take over their homes. Valari turned to him, unbothered. I am not random. I am assigned to you. We are bonded. That's the part one don't get, he muttered. You keep saying bonded, but I don't remember agreeing to anything. Her gaze softened. You made the request. I was sent because I match your needs. Ronan sighed, flopping onto the couch. I asked for a robot. A machine. Something to help me with chores, not an alien woman who keeps talking about bonds and compatibility. Valari stepped closer, studying him. Do you truly wish for an existence without warmth? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. She leaned in slightly, her violet hair falling over her shoulder. Your species prioritizes efficiency, but you also long for connection. This is why you struggle. You seek companionship without realizing it. His throat felt oddly dry. You don't know that. Valari reached out, gently brushing her fingers against his hand. Her touch was warm, softer than he expected. I do, she whispered. I have studied your world. I have studied you. Ronan swallowed hard and pulled his hand away. That's unsettling. She gave him a small smile. I understand that my presence is unexpected. But I will not leave. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Of course you won't. Later that evening, Ronan tried to go about his usual routine. He cooked dinner, cleaned up, and sat down to watch a movie. Valari watched everything with quiet fascination. She didn't eat, but she sat across from him at the table, observing every bite he took. You do not consume efficiently, she noted. He raised an eyebrow. Excuse me. She gestured at his plate. Your method of food intake is slow and lacks optimization. Ronan let out a short laugh. Eating isn't just about getting fuel. It's about enjoying it. Valari tilted her head. Enjoyment in food? Yeah. He popped a piece of chicken into his mouth. It's about flavor, texture, the experience. She leaned forward, intrigued. Fascinating. I must learn more. Ronan pointed his fork at her. That doesn't mean I want you experimenting on my meals. Her lips curved slightly. I make no promises. After dinner, he sat on the couch, flipping through streaming options. Valari sat beside him, much closer than necessary. He glanced at her. Ever heard of personal space? She blinked. Yes. It is a human construct. Right. And it does not apply to bonded mates. His stomach flipped. We are not bonded mates. She simply smiled, folding her hands in her lap. Not yet. Ronan groaned, dragging a hand down his face. She was going to drive him insane. When Ronan woke up, he smelled something incredible. His groggy mind struggled to process it, sweet, warm, and slightly spiced. Coffee? He stumbled into the kitchen and froze. Valari was standing at the stove, gracefully pouring a steaming cup of coffee. The sight was surreal. An alien woman in his kitchen, casually making his morning brew like it was the most natural thing in the world. You drink this every morning, she said without turning. I have prepared it to your exact preference. Ronan rubbed his eyes. You made me coffee? Yes. She handed him the cup, her golden eyes watching intently. Drink. He hesitated before taking a sip. His eyes widened. It was perfect. The exact balance of bitterness and sweetness, the temperature just right. He stared at her. How? Valari simply smiled. I am your ideal match, Ronan. This is what I do. He didn't know whether to be impressed or terrified. But as he took another sip, warmth spreading through him, he started to wonder. Maybe having her around wasn't the worst thing in the world. Ronan had never imagined his life taking such a strange turn. Just a week ago, he had been a man living alone, stuck in routine. Now, he had an alien woman in his apartment, cooking his meals, rearranging his furniture, and looking at him like he was the most important thing in the universe. And the worst part? He was getting used to it. Valari had seamlessly integrated into his life. She anticipated his needs before he even voiced them, adjusted the room's temperature when he shivered, and somehow always knew when he was stressed, easing it with soft touches or quiet conversation. He was starting to look forward to coming home, knowing she'd be there. That should have scared him. But it didn't. One evening, Ronan was sprawled on the couch, flipping through channels while Valari sat beside him, watching with quiet fascination. She always seemed curious about human entertainment, though she found most of it illogical. You mean to tell me this entire story conflict could have been avoided if the main characters simply communicated? She asked, frowning at the screen. Ronan smirked. Welcome to human drama. She sighed, shaking her head. Your species is fascinating, and needlessly complicated. He chuckled, stretching his arms. Yeah, well, it's what makes us interesting. Valari studied him for a moment, her golden eyes deep and unreadable. Then, out of nowhere, she moved closer. Ronan stiffened as she reached up, fingertips barely grazing his cheek. You are warm, she murmured. His throat felt dry. Humans tend to be. Her gaze didn't waver. I like it. Ronan swallowed hard. He was suddenly very aware of the space between them, or rather, the lack of it. Valari. She tilted her head. Yes. His heart pounded. He should have pulled away, made a joke, done something to break the tension. But he didn't. Because the truth was, he didn't want to. And then, before he could talk himself out of it, she leaned in. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant. Her lips were warm, softer than he ever imagined. But then, she deepened it, pressing closer, her hands sliding to his shoulders, pulling him in like she had been waiting for this moment forever. And maybe she had. Ronan barely had time to process the flood of emotions, the warmth spreading through him, the way her body fit so perfectly against his, before reality came crashing down. Because the next thing he knew, the front door burst open. Ronan shot to his feet, instinctively pulling Valari behind him. A group of men in dark suits flooded into the apartment, their movements precise and practiced. Government. He knew it before they even spoke. One of them, a tall man with cold gray eyes, stepped forward. His voice was clipped, emotionless. Step away from the alien, sir. Valari's hand gripped Ronan's arm. Her entire body tensed, but she didn't move away. Ronan's jaw clenched. Who the hell are you? The man pulled out a badge. Division of Extraterrestrial Relations. We need to take her into custody. His blood ran cold. For what? She's not supposed to be here. Valari's grip on him tightened. I am not going with them. Ronan turned to her, his mind racing. Valari, what's going on? She hesitated before whispering. They do not believe in our bond. They see me as an unauthorized presence. The lead agent sighed. Look, sir. I'm going to make this simple. She was not supposed to be sent to you. Someone bypassed regulations, and now we have a problem. His gaze hardened. She needs to come with us. Now. Ronan's heart pounded. Every rational part of him knew this was way bigger than him. He was just a guy who had ordered a damn assistant bot. He shouldn't be involved in anything like this. But when he looked at Valari, her golden eyes filled with both fear and defiance, he knew he couldn't let them take her. She had chosen him. And now, he had to choose her back. Ronan took a slow step forward, planting himself between Valari and the agents. She's not going anywhere. The lead agent's expression darkened. Don't be stupid. Too late, Ronan shot back. One of the agents reached for a weapon. Valari moved fast, faster than he had ever seen. In the blink of an eye, she disarmed the man, twisting his arm with unnatural strength and shoving him backward. The room erupted into chaos. Ronan grabbed Valari's hand. We need to go. Now. She didn't hesitate. They ran. The agents shouted behind them, but Valari was faster. She led him through the back exit, down an alleyway, and into the city street. As they weaved through the crowd, Ronan's heart pounded, adrenaline surging through his veins. He glanced at Valari, breathless. What the hell did I just get myself into? She squeezed his hand, her golden eyes shining under the streetlights. Our future, she whispered. And somehow, despite everything, that didn't sound so bad. They ran until their lungs burned. The city lights blurred past, and Ronan's heart pounded in his ears. Behind them, the agents were still searching, but Valari was fast, inhumanly fast. She led him through narrow alleys, across busy streets, ducking through shadows until they were nothing more than ghosts in the night. When they finally stopped, they were on the outskirts of the city, near an old industrial site. Ronan leaned against a rusted metal wall, trying to catch his breath. Valari, however, seemed barely winded. He looked at her. This alien woman who had entered his life so suddenly, turned everything upside down, and somehow made it impossible to imagine going back to the way things were. We can't keep running, he said. She stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. I know. Her touch sent warmth through him, but there was something else now, something deeper. A connection that had formed not just from time spent together, but from the choice they had both made. I won't let them take you, he said firmly. But we need a plan. Valari hesitated before reaching into a hidden compartment on her suit. She pulled out a small device, no bigger than a coin. I did not wish to use this, but I may have no choice. Ronan frowned. What is it? She pressed a button, and a holographic screen flickered to life. Strange alien symbols flashed across it, and a soft hum filled the air. A beacon, she said. A signal to my people. Ronan tensed. Your people? You mean more aliens? She nodded. I was not meant to come to Earth alone. My mission was to find a compatible partner and establish an official connection between our species. But something went wrong. The program was shut down before I could be recalled. His mind reeled. So you're saying your people might be out there, waiting for a sign? Exactly. She took his hand, her fingers threading through his. But activating this means I will have to leave. Ronan's chest tightened. The idea of her disappearing, of waking up tomorrow and finding his home empty, his life back to the way it was before, felt like a punch to the gut. But what choice did they have? Will I ever see you again? He asked, his voice quiet. Valari reached up, gently cupping his face. If you wish it. He let out a shaky breath. Of course I do. Her golden eyes softened. Then we will find a way. She pressed the final command on the beacon. The device pulsed once, sending out a silent signal to the stars. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the air shifted. A faint hum vibrated through the ground, and above them, the sky rippled with light. A sleek, silver ship appeared out of nowhere, hovering just above the abandoned buildings. A soft beam of light extended downward, surrounding them in a warm glow. Valari turned to him, eyes shining. Come with me. His breath caught. You mean leave Earth? She nodded. You do not belong in a life of loneliness. You belong with me. Ronan's pulse thundered in his ears. The choice stretched before him: return to his ordinary, predictable life, or take a step into the unknown with the woman who had changed everything. Maybe it should have been a hard decision. But looking at her now, feeling the way her fingers tightened around his, he already knew his answer. He smiled. Let's go. As the beam of light lifted them toward the ship, as the earth shrank below and the stars stretched before them, Ronan realized something. He hadn't just ordered an assistant. He had found a home.